Mike Muse is an industrial engineer, a music executive, a political architect. He breaks down the intersection of politics and pop culture. This is the Mike Muse Show.
What's up, world? It's your boy, Mike Muse, coming to another episode of the Mike Muse Show. I am so excited to be in conversation with the individual to my right, to your left. That's if you're looking at us on YouTube right now. If you're in your cars, if you're listening on the app, you can't tell right from left, but trust me, there is a dope dude with me in studio. I am super excited. He has no idea why I'm excited for all the things that he is into. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a thing out there called Formula E. I think you may or may not have heard about it right now, but if not, you are going to be blown away as we do a deep dive in this conversation, into the discussion. You know, I'm all about finding intersections, right? You know, I'm all about finding where the cool is, right? And there's something smart about Formula E, right? And there's a coolness to it, right? And you guys all know my background, man. Industrial engineering, nuclear chemical research. I am a geek at heart. My first internship was at General Motors, so cars is in my blood. So I'm just going to get right into the conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the Virgin Racing Group Formula E driver, Mr. Sam Bird. What's happening, bro?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How's it going?
I'm so happy to have you in conversation, man.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
I know Formula E is different than Formula One, but I actually had my first introduction to it when my father and my mother took me. I'm from originally Lansing, Michigan.
Okay.
We're a car family.
Yeah.
We're a General Motors family, to be more
Michigan,
specific.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. In Detroit, when I was a little kid, somehow I got the chance to host a Grand Prix.
I remember back in the day.
Yeah, so I had the chance to go to that and experience it, and that was actually my first introduction to race car driving.
Yep.
And then followed by that, we have another kind of traditional Indy 500 racetrack somewhere in like the rural sticks of Michigan.
Okay.
So me and my father, we would go to that too, as well as my uncles. And so I love racing, right? Yeah. And I love the sport of racing.
Yeah.
But then you add on my engineering background that I have, and my first internship being with General Motors, and then we get Formula E racing, which is really cool. It's about the electric cars, right? And so how did you, one, stumble upon Formula E car racing before we even talk about what it is and what the difference of it is? Did you have an engineering background? Did you have a constitution with this space?
I mean, firstly, I got into motorsport because I loved watching it with my mum and dad. So when I was young, from like 3 years old, I was telling my mum and dad that I was going to be a racing driver.
Oh, wow.
Because I would watch it on TV and I would just say, I'm going to be a racing driver. So
yeah.
I when I was 8 years old, I had my first go-kart. Mm-hmm. And it's like any sport that any kid plays and any kid dreams of. You work your way up through the ranks, and if you work hard enough, with enough luck and talent, skill, perseverance, you can make your dreams come true. And I'm very fortunate enough that I've worked my way up through the motorsport ladder. And I got to Formula One as a reserve driver. Yeah. So I worked with Michael Schumacher, Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton in Formula One.
Of course, yeah.
And then when that kind of ended, there were these talks about this new championship starting up called Formula E. I was like, well, what's Formula E? What's it all about? And I knew it was the first all-electric racing series on the planet. And I went for a meeting with the team boss at the time of Virgin Racing. And I didn't have anything else going for me. And it was a big leap of faith to go and join Formula E. But I'm so glad I did. I've now done every single race.
That's amazing.
Formula E's history. I'm one of only 2 drivers to win a race every single season.
Congratulations to you.
And obviously 2 years ago here in Brooklyn. In New York, I became the first winner and the second winner of a motorsport event in New York.
Come on, man. That's congratulations to you, brother.
Cheers.
Right there.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's why I was excited to have you. Formula E is this new sport. It's only been around 5 years.
Yep.
And for those who may not be really well versed in the difference between Formula One and Formula E, as Sam has mentioned, Formula E is all electric cars.
Yep.
Where Formula One uses a little bit of a hybrid of traditional gas and electric, leaning more so on the former. But there is this uniqueness of it, right? And really was brought about to really encourage the aspect of research and development within the electric car space, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And especially as we're in this space and this era of like going green, right? And thinking about ways that we can help better aid our planet. And I think the reason why this was such a cool sport for me is we only got introduced to electric cars via the Toyota Prius. Well, I shouldn't say the only, but that became the dominant space, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it really wasn't, it's not a really cool car, right?
No, exactly.
No shots fired to Toyota Prius. We love Toyota, we love the Priuses. And we love the drivers who are listening to us in a Toyota Toyota Prius.
I completely get what you're saying, and Formula E makes electric cars cool. It makes them sexy, and Formula E, the technology is growing so rapidly, and it's a lot of the technology is kind of software based with Formula E. We're improving the software so that the techniques that we learn can go onto the production line and make EVs of the future more, make the range better, make them faster, make them more reliable, and things like that. It's not just about the components and the hardware, it's the software as well.
Yeah, and I think that's really important about it. And my whole notion was the more we can make these type of electric cars more sexier, then more we'll be able to purchase and drive. So we make it more sexy, but also make it more affordable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know Tesla is a little bit out of a lot of individuals' like price range, right? And I remember Fiscal Karma was coming out, also too a little bit out of individuals' price range, right? And so I think it's important to show the power, right, and the speed.
That's already happening. I mean, we're racing very, very cool looking racing cars on.
They're very sexy.
Amazing race circuits all around the world in these city centres to promote electric vehicles, and that software has already gone into cars. Some of the manufacturers have made smaller little family cars that you can buy on the roads today, electric vehicles that that most people can afford.
Yeah.
You look at the technology in Formula One, and this isn't a dig at Formula One at all, because I love Formula One. I think it's great.
Same here.
But that technology is only really relevant for hypercars and cars that cost $1 million, for example. Now that's all great, but it's not really relevant to 99.9% of the population.
Exactly.
The software-based stuff that we do in Formula E doesn't cost much, and it's readily available for everybody to buy now and in the future.
Now, it really is based upon the whole advancement of research and development. So it seems like there is this two-way communication that actually is happening between those who are involved in the ecosystem of Formula E, but then who are also involved in the manufacturing aspect of it. Because not only is the Virgin Motor Group involved in this space, but you also see more the traditional companies like Porsche, right? Like Mercedes, but you also see the Nissans, right?
Yeah.
And so why do you think it's important for those manufacturers to be involved in this space and conversation to show the sexiness of it?
Well, there's two reasons why. So I reckon the first reason obviously is, why not do your research on a racetrack? You can learn an awful lot about your techniques on how to improve your road cars by going racing. Plus, also, it's a huge marketing tool, like a massive marketing tool. We're doing Formula E. It promotes their electric vehicles. It promotes their brand on such a global scale. So they're two very important, combinations, really. You've got the sporting side where they're learning to improve their race cars. The other is, look at what we're doing now.
Yeah. So I always talk about on my show in terms of representation mattering, right? And exposure, right? And usually we get a chance to see that within the film, right? In the film industry and for television, right? What we see more so on film, what we see on television begins to open and expand our horizons on exactly kind of what is possible. When you look at Formula E racing and electric vehicle cars, you can't tell that's electric vehicle cars. It looks just as sexy as a Formula One car, right? So do you think after 5 years, are you seeing a change in perception on electric cars?
Yeah.
From a consumer standpoint of view.
Slowly. From a consumer's point of view, very, very slowly. We're improving all these techniques, but the real big change is going to be in fast charging. Fast charging is the key. When we can unlock that, then I think everybody will be getting them, and they'll be selling like hotcakes.
Yeah.
All the manufacturers will be selling.
Even to the point what you're saying right now, because there's two things where you need like electric charging stations. And so I'm bi-coastal, so I go back and forth between New York and Los Angeles. And sometimes I see when I pull up into the parking structures in Los Angeles, there's more electric charging stations more readily available within the Los Angeles market versus here in New York City, just for obvious reasons, right? And that's the difficulty about having like these type of electric charging cars because of the stations that you need for the charging space of it. But I think it's interesting that we even have this type of conversation because we've also seen Formula E improve upon the battery over the years, absolutely. Right? And so now this year, this is the first year that, if I'm not mistaken, that is actually full charge.
Yeah.
Right?
So we've got one car for the race now. So season 1 to season 4, we had to, halfway through the race, We had to drive into our pit box, swap car, and then drive out and do the second phase of the race in a second car. For this season, we've just got one car per driver, and we do a 45-minute race plus one lap in one car. So it just shows the rate of improvement. And going back to your point, I mean, the range is already pretty much doubled in the last sort of 5-10 years of EVs. The speed of them is unquestioned. You know, it's already far exceeds what a normally aspirated car can do. You put a Rimac Concept 2 against an Aventador, and it'll blow its doors off. I mean, the torque and the acceleration is outrageous. So those two things are clearly good. It's just that last opening, that last sort of Pandora's box of the fast charging. Once we get that going as a thing, then electric vehicles will be absolutely everywhere.
Well, let me ask you another question then. I'm curious then, is the reason why you guys have activated for this year the attack mode, right? Is it to really show the power of the electric vehicle, right? Because, you know, when cars are being marketed now, traditional cars, gas-driven cars, it can go from 0 to 60 in 0.005 seconds or whatever, right? Like, is this kind of mode to do that? Or tell me a little bit.
The attack mode, so basically, guys, we have to drive through a certain area of the track, drive over 3 strips after activating a button on our steering wheel. Once we do that, we get an extra allocation of additional power for a certain period of time, and everybody has to do it. Everybody has to use it within the 45-minute plus one lap. It's basically because we used to do the pit stop, and that was the strategy. Now the strategy is using... Sorry. Basically now the strategy is about when you're using the attack mode.
Got it.
So you use it to attack, you can use it to defend. You might try and get rid of it actually because there's some tracks where it's inefficient to use it. So you might want to try and get rid of it under a full course yellow or a safety car. And it depends on the track, depends on the air temp, the track temp, what's going on in the race around you. So there's many variables on when you're going to use it, plus how much time you lose by having to drive through this attack zone. Some tracks, you don't lose any time. Some tracks, you'll lose 2 or 3 seconds and you might get overtaken by 2 or 3 cars. So it's another area of strategy that is exciting for the fans and that people are getting used to.
The inner geek in me was getting excited just hearing you talk about that because there's so many things in that dynamic, right? So there is the gamification of it. Something like a video game technology, right? Like Fortnite, how you supercharge and the whole 9. But I'm also too getting like the science of it, right? And the physics of it, right? In terms of at what point, based upon the temperature of the track, aerodynamic, you know, the raise of the rubber and the tires off of the ground, right? So I think that is really cool. Now, how are you processing all that though while you're doing that? Are you communicating with somebody within the cockpit? Or I mean, like
Formula E is like a game of chess at 150 mile an hour.
Which is
I've said
insane.
That. So
which is insane.
You know, on a street circuit somewhere around the world. So it's a very difficult game of chess. Let me tell you that.
A fast-paced game of chess because chess can go really slow.
It's a lot. There's a lot of things going on. I'm thinking about not only driving my car as quickly as possible while being as efficient as possible. I'm thinking of ways to try and attack the car in front, keep the car behind. And I've got to think about this attack mode, when to use it. Do I use it to defend? Do I use it to attack? Do I use it for other means? When is the best time? And honestly, we have meetings on Thursday and Friday before the event on the Saturday. And they can ask hours about how and when to use this attack mode.
That is amazing.
It can be really, really key to your race. We had a race in Santiago at the beginning of this year that was super, super hot. And it meant that the regeneration levels could not be very high because if we used the regen too much, the battery would get too hot and we'd probably not finish the race. I used my attack mode at the right time, overtook somebody, and then went on to win the race. So, and it was all due to the timing of that overtake, the timing of using the attack mode, and all the homework basically that we'd done beforehand. And one of the homework tools that we use is a simulator. So we'll do 2 or 3 days before each race on a simulator in Munich that Audi Sport have, and we'll do thousands of kilometers around a circuit. A, to get used to it.
Yeah.
B, to absolutely perfect the energy usage.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of calculate all these things.
Yeah.
We'll calculate all of these things. Like we'll be doing safety car procedures, full course yellow procedures, activation modes on different laps, different grip levels on the sim. We'll be doing different air temps, track temps, tire pressures, all these things, so that when we go to the circuit, there's no stone that's been unturned.
Yeah.
Everything's been covered. So we feel like we've done all of our homework.
Well, one, that's super smart, super dope, super fascinating. Didn't know all that was really going through the process, but I just keep really just thinking about the translation aspect of it, right? Because I'm thinking about, you know, in my home state of Michigan, how we have the Milford Proving Grounds, right? And it was so cool to see like these gas-driven cars being driven around this track at high speeds, right?
Yeah.
The turns and the corners, right? And that's what makes a car so powerful and so sexy and really gets the consumers interested in purchasing it, right?
Yeah.
Like when you see those commercials going around. And so I think it's really dope that the electric cars has the exact same testing that's existing. And I think it all goes to help change the mindset. And just as we addressed earlier in our conversation, like definitely not going to move mindsets overnight, right? And it's going to be this huge cultural shift because you're only in your 5th year. But I really believe that every little bit helps, right? And every little bit helps change the perception of it. I know we're here to talk about electric cars, but a buddy of mine named Tom, he and I were really involved in really pushing and advancing hydrogen-based fuel-efficient cars, right? With Sun Hydrogen. And his whole notion was that it was always a chicken or the egg, right? And kind of what we were talking about earlier with the electric fueling stations. For him, the challenge was how do you get like these hydrogen fueling stations across the country, right? And so at some point, someone has to jump first, right? And so seeing like you guys are really in tune with the manufacturers, right?
Yeah.
Like, is there conversations also happening? And you may or may not know this, so I'm just curious. Is there conversations happening in terms of how to create more electric charging stations like throughout the country so it's not centered in like urban areas like London, LA, and like New York?
Yeah, look, change is tough.
Yeah.
Change is tough for everybody, whether that's the person buying the product or the government trying to install these new electric charging points or whatever it may be. I mean, the commitment to go from a gas-powered car to an electric vehicle for a family, it's a big call. Yeah. But that day is coming. It's like gas-powered cars are kind of running out of time now.
Yeah, they are.
And they're coming to the end of their lifespan.
And gas is so
this new
expensive,
thing is
Sam.
there's this new thing coming along, the EVs, and they're getting better and better and better, and soon everybody's going to be relying on them.
Why did Virgin?
We're in a state of change right now, I think, on the planet.
Why did Virgin decide to get involved in this space?
Well, you know, Sir Richard Branson is he's an innovator, and he loves these pioneering activities. You know, the hot air balloons and flying around the world, and he's very into green technology. So Formula E fitted absolutely perfectly for him. And he wanted to be one of the first teams signed up to this new category of motorsport, and we're still involved in it, you know, 5 years in, and look to be one of the key teams moving forwards for the years to come. Yeah,
that's amazing. Sam, I'm so excited for you. This has been a wonderful conversation. I hope that you would come back to the Mike Muse Show so we can do more.
Well, we're done already? I mean, we just got started.
Yeah, dude. I know, man. The 25 minutes goes quick here, brother. Let me tell you, man. But I would love to have you come back anytime, cool. Like you're in New York City. Please feel free to stop by, because I'm actually curious in following this. As you can hear in my constitution, I love the sport. Also, too, I love the technology, but also, too, love the politics and the policy of going green. And how can we make it more interesting, engaging, and sexy? That's my whole mission, is just to make policy sexy, right? And make it engaging, because we always look at it from like, when we think about alternative energy, when we think about going green, we think about saving our planets. Sometimes I feel we can only think about polar bears and the glaciers, if you will, right? And those are great. And those all need to be saved, right? But it really tunes a lot of people out because you don't have any connection to that, right? You've never seen a polar bear in person. Like, you've never been to Alaska or to Iceland, right? And so you have no connection to it.
That's like the end thing. Like, that's what's getting damaged. But what can we do to help prevent that happening? Yeah. You can buy an EV.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, we never see it from this perspective.
You can turn off a light bulb. You can stop using plastic bags. You can recycle correctly these things. And one of them, obviously, is the electric vehicle. So
And that's why I'm excited, because we never really had that conversation of this side of this point of entry, right?
Yeah.
Now we're in this whole craze of going to paper straws versus plastic straws. And I got to be honest with you, Sam, I got to live my truth. I don't like that. Because the paper straws change the consistency of the beverage, right? And I'm an iced coffee guy, right? And so I feel like it changed the consistency of it. Yeah. And I only drink sparkling water and seltzer water. And I believe the paper straw kind of takes away from the consistency, the bubbles and the fizz. And then it actually sort of erodes the paper straw. So I'm really frustrated by this. Yeah. But an electric car that's sexy, powerful, I can get behind, right? And so I think this is why this sport is so fantastic. I think this is why the work that you're doing is so important. And to that, how can people reach out to you on social media if they have questions, they want to follow your journey as you're going through the race circuit?
Do you know what? I've had a break from social media. I'm going to be going back on again. No, because
the focus.
Not only that, but the way some people use it. I just wanted to take a break from it because I felt like a lot of people just kind of live on social media. Got it. And I felt like I needed a break from it.
Yeah, that's true.
And now I'm going to go back on it and try and kill it. So it's going to be good.
Do you remember your handles by any chance on Twitter or Instagram?
I'm probably going to have a new one.
Okay, perfect. Well, you know what? Text me later.
Yep.
Let me know what the new handle's going to be, and I'll make sure we promote it, and I'll make sure we put it at the bottom of the screen
September
right
time,
here
but
or here.
You can follow my race team at Envision Virgin Racing, and they can keep you up to date with all the details on what's happening with myself and my teammate and all the team news. We do some cool videos, cool pictures. The races are on Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, here in Red Hook. In Red Hook, and it'd be great to see as many of you down there as possible. It's an amazing day out. It's not just the racing. There's an e-village there where you can learn about electric vehicles. There's fun things to do, and it's a really fun, friendly, family kind of atmosphere. Yeah. It's not just for the hardcore motorsport fan. Yeah. Everybody will find something fun to do at a Formula E event.
Yo, I can't wait. I'm wishing you luck. You are the man, and congratulations to you. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my show. As always, you can reach me at I am Mike Muse, M-U-S-N-Sam-E on Twitter and Instagram. Stay with us, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mike Muse Show.
See, you haven't changed. It's good to see you anyway. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Love 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 when I think about you, my feelings can't explain. Why after all this time, my heart still feels pain when I look at you.
This is The Mike Muse Show.
Me at the London. If you find time, we can run one. Talk about some things we can undo. You just in the pen, I can find you. 6'1" on the money, 9'2". You just say the word and I run through. 2 texts, no reply, that's when I knew.
What's up, world? It's your boy, Mike Muse. Welcome back. I'm so glad you decided to join us here. What a fantastic conversation we had with Sam Bird. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of motor racing. I love Formula One. Formula E now is becoming a new obsession of mine for all the cool things that it is you heard me talk about. It's fun, it's technology, it's sexy, it's cool. It's all these things you wouldn't think about when it comes to like climate change and technology, but it brings everything together in one. And Sam, I mean, what a great conversation that we had. And so I was trying to figure out who would be the best person to pair with Sam Bird. And listen, I think I've outdone myself with this one. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm practicing the names. We're going to give it a shot. And we've been having fun off air, off the mic regarding his names. I've been building up to this moment to say it. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the CEO of Genpack with me, Mr. Tyagarajan.
You got it, Mike.
Did I get it?
You got my name right.
I did.
Most people don't.
Listen, Tiger, for me, names matter, right? And names are important.
And you've got a really cool name.
Yeah, thank you, man. You know what's interesting? You know, I didn't like my name in the beginning. For some reason, people couldn't pronounce Muse. They would say Moose. And then as I got older, obviously you get older, you begin to love your name. And now I'm completely obsessed with it. And I tell people that I'm your muse, right? I inspire you for all things. And most importantly, now people can say that Zeus is their great-great-great-great-great-grandfather.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You see I did that, Tiger? Who's your great-great-great-grandfather, Tiger? Any mythical names that you can throw out?
No, and Tiger is a nickname.
Tiger's a nickname.
Yeah, it's not my name.
Tiger isn't your real name.
No.
No way. Are you serious?
It is.
If
It's a
you don't
nickname
okay.
for Tyagarajan because most people can't pronounce my name.
Say it again. Challenge me. Say it one time. You say it one time, I'll get it right.
Tyagarajan.
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 Rajan. Yep. Nope. Tiger. Yeah. But Tiger fits you, man. You have a cool aesthetic. I never met a cooler CEO that is in charge of over 87,000 employees globally, man. So cheers
Thank
to
you.
you. Just talk to us a little bit about what Genpact is, because, you know, as my audience knows, I'm big on technology. AI is my bag. Love artificial intelligence. I love big data. I love machine learning. I think we don't talk about future work as we should. I think we don't put future work in its proper context for all the reasons. But I also think that we don't understand how impactful AI and machine learning is in terms of our everyday life, right? And how it's disrupting not only lifestyle, but the marketplace too as well. So Genpact for me sits at that intersection of that. I hope I got it right.
You got it. You got it more than right, because I actually agree with you. I don't think the world talks enough about what AI and machine learning could be, and the fact it's actually in the middle of our lives already.
Yeah.
And what it could be in terms of great things in the future. A lot of the discussion on AI and machine learning is about some of the bad things and some of the negative impact, which is all true and possible, but it's balanced with some of the positives. So we keep talking about change the narrative around AI.
Okay,
because
so
it's a balance between positive and negative.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been joking with Tiger off the air that we are already best friends. I already said we were fast friends. We are already going to do coffee down the street. We're kind of neighbors in an interesting way. But that's what I talk about, Tiger. Actually, my hashtag on social media is change the narrative.
Really?
Yeah, it really is. I believe we don't really talk about it enough.
I'm not going to charge you any royalty for that.
Oh, no. It's okay. It's okay. If not, just buy you a cup of coffee. But for me, change the narrative is important because we have only looked at it from a negative perspective. And there are some ethical questions around the AI system that we do have to be mindful of and take serious and figure out how to solve for that. But in the middle of solving for that, we have to be careful that we don't course correct too much, that we still go tilt the wrong way from all. So I always look at it from the glass is half full, where I talk about AI for good, right? And I always talk about AI for good for lifestyle in particular, which is dovetails right into our Formula E. I just want to touch on that just a little bit and then get into everything about the AI space that you're a part of. But I met you when you were on the Innovation Summit, really talking with the Formula E, with the Virgin Motor Racing Company within Vision. And you guys really did a fantastic conversation around corporate social responsibility, roles that corporate play. But then you said something really interesting that I was like, I just knew I had to have because you fit so well with my show, this intersectionality about how AI is actually helping race car drivers in Formula E get to the finish line quicker, better, faster, and more efficient with the battery. For those who may not be familiar coming into our conversation a little bit late, the difference between Formula 1 and Formula E is that it's just run electronic batteries, right? And so they have to be mindful of the battery usage and output and percentages of that. But AI is helping that. Talk to us how AI is helping that.
Yeah, I'll first answer your original question on what do we do for a living as a company.
Yeah, that's important.
So we partner with global companies across a range of industries. Think about them as Fortune 1000 companies to help them undertake digital transformation journeys, change the way they run the company using new technologies, AI, machine learning, robotics, visualization, and all kinds of new cool technologies that are coming in. To change the way they run, to change the way they run services and processes. So let's take an insurance business that is trying to approve a customer who's just applied for an auto insurance. Wouldn't it be great to actually be able to say yes or no in seconds?
Yeah.
And then to be able to say that your premium that you're going to pay, Mike, is actually lower than what otherwise I would have charged someone else, because I think I know your driving habits. They're really conservative. They're really good. So I know that typically I would have charged you $2,000 per year as premium. I'm going to charge you $1,200. That's what some companies are beginning to do. That's what we help them do by actually helping them understand driving habits. So if, for example, you turn left or you turn right more slowly than the person who just yanks the wheel, I should give you some credit for that.
Tiger, that's brilliant, because that's really when we talk about the disparity. This is what I mean by AI for good, right? And as we begin to solve for the disparity gaps and inequality of even premiums, right? Because we do know that there is this redlining within zip codes when it comes to car premiums, right? Some zip codes that are more under-resourced, underemployed, more inner cities, they charge more for a premium than those within the suburbs right now. The state of Michigan is actually dealing with this right now within the state legislature of actually passing legislation that would equal and level the playing field when it comes to that. I've always looked at AI from the perspective of, wouldn't it be great if we were able to consider other factors and variables? I was looking at it from like a consumer confidence indexing report, but what you're doing right now, and I see why you're the CEO and not me, you even went further than that and talked about the driving habits.
Right.
So you can talk about the driving habits, then coupled with other consumer indicators and trends. I mean, my God, that's AI for good right there.
So just to be clear, Mike, we don't actually do the actual building of the algorithms.
Yeah.
The insurance company does that.
Yeah.
But we work with those insurance companies to actually, first of all, bring the data together, clean it up, line it up, and actually then bring the understanding of what the data is telling you. The algorithms are theirs, but we are a big group that actually helps them. That's why we have 87,000 employees. So we do that with insurance companies. We do a bunch of things with banks. So think about someone applying for $50,000 to buy a small coffee machine for the coffee shop down the road. It takes typically 7 to 15 days for them to get an approval.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You should be able to give them an approval in minutes.
Yeah.
That's the world we are in.
Yeah.
Well, it's possible if you find a way to get the machine to read the profitability of the business and the ability to convert that into, hey, therefore it matches the risk profile. Therefore, say yes. And if you can give that answer in seconds on your cell phone, then think about that business going out and getting the coffee machine in order to be able to run their business better.
Yeah.
The US is all about small businesses.
It is.
And speed is so important these days.
It is.
So anyhow, so we
we're-
do a bunch of cool things with a bunch of our customers to change the way they run their business.
So we're going to be the yin and the yang of this conversation right here, because even what you're saying about the banks, I also talk about that too as well when it regards to AI and banking and how it can help. I'm all about leveling the playing field, right? And I believe AI can do that. But even you're talking about the speed of it, right, in terms of the profitability, which is, again, how I was not thinking about it and why you are the CEO and I'm just the guy with the microphone. But I always talk about it from the perspective of what if there's other indicators that can judge a credit score for most individuals, because we all know the difficulty. Millennials are the backbone of our economy currently when it comes to entrepreneurship in terms of startups. But the difficulty for millennials were to get startup funds and going to like your local bank to get a business loan is quite challenging.
It's very.
We all know the challenges with women applying for loans and people of color applying for loans. So what if we took other variables from the data that could be more predictive analysis on whether or not this is a person who could qualify for that. So I think the coupling of faster, better, quicker with the social consciousness of it could change the really way individuals get access to capital. And although, Tiger, you guys don't do the applications of it, having you at the helm with this type of mindset and framework is what is needed to help change that narrative, because there's not a lot of people thinking about it from this 360 perspective.
Yeah. So change the narrative is so important, because even though you may have great solutions, there's resistance to change.
Yes.
People within the company sometimes resist change. Sometimes the people who have been doing this for many years and doing it a certain way want to continue to do that way.
Yeah. So and if we can, and I don't want to oversimplify the professional services of what Genpact does, but there was a time period in my life where I was a consultant from one of the big 5. And I won't say which one, but in my mind, that's kind of the work of Genpact, right? Is acting as a consultant for other businesses, et cetera. Obviously, those individuals who are contracting you guys out to do their services understand the need and the value for it, right? So that's a given. But I want to talk to it though, because most times people making those decisions isn't the entire company, right? It isn't the entire workforce. It's a small subset of individuals who make the approval for it. When you guys begin to activate on site, right? And you guys begin to activate with the employees, did you see it difficult to their openness and their willingness to wrap their minds around this new way of doing business, right? This new way of looking at the future of work.
As usual, Mike, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
That is the single biggest challenge that most large enterprises face, which is the solution works. It makes sense. It creates value. But how do you get it across the line with the people who are going to use it? And that's where change the narrative becomes important. Yeah. If the narrative is that the machine is going to replace you, then of course you're going to face resistance.
Yeah.
But actually it's not going to replace you. It's actually going to help you do your job even better.
Yeah.
That's the narrative that we think is incredibly important. Some companies do an amazing job at doing that. And so what does it mean doing your job better? Well, you really want to spend all your time cleaning up the data, lining up everything in order to take a decision? Or do you really want the machine to help you? And then you sit back and say, so what is the right way to communicate this? Do I really want to take the machine's decision and implement it? As an example, if the machine says, do not lend to this person, I might actually look at it and say, no, actually I do want to, because you know what? My portfolio doesn't have enough of this segment.
Yeah.
For example, the portfolio doesn't have enough women in my portfolio.
Yeah.
So I want to increase it. So I deliberately take a decision, but that only a human being can take.
Yeah.
That can never be taken away into a machine. So empathy, connecting the dots, creativity, customer relationship, those are going to become incredibly more important.
Yes.
And I get paid to do that. Leaders get paid to do that. The machine will help. Today, an accountant does not do math.
Yes.
Excel spreadsheets do math.
They do.
The accountant thinks
they
about
do.
accounting.
Yes, they do. And don't get me into programming Excel spreadsheets, man. And I have a lot of former lives, Tiger. I'm a former engineer by degree. So programming Excel spreadsheets were the bane of my existence.
I knew that.
Yeah.
I'm an engineer as well.
No way. Are you mechanical, right?
Mechanical.
Yeah, I remember you said that from your talking industrial. And that is some nuclear chemical research stuff too, kind of along the way. But I want to go to that part though, because a lot of times they may see you come in and they may think their job is leaving, right? And that kind of gets us into the conversation of the displacement of workforce. So I'm just curious, when you guys are out, solving, making things quicker, better, faster, more efficient, is there a notion of what do we do with the displacement of the workforce so that way they don't have to exit, but we can find new positioning in a new way in the space for them?
So, Mike, actually, the interesting thing is many enterprises these days are thinking hard about reskilling workforce. Because that person who I described, who no longer has to do what he or she was doing, but actually can go up the value chain into doing more complex stuff, into more relationship stuff, needs to learn that. So the organization has to step up to teach those people. The individual has to be ready to learn.
Yeah.
No longer is it the life of you and me where we went to college, we went to school, we learned for 20 years, and then we said, okay, goodbye, no more learning.
Yeah.
Let's work for 40 years.
Yeah.
And then we retire for the next 40 years.
With that watch. Yeah.
I think life has changed to, of course, you have to go to college and all that, but more importantly, you got to keep learning. You got to learn every couple of years new things. You got to apply it. 2 years later, what you learned is no longer valid. It's new stuff. You got to keep learning and applying, so you never ever stop learning, which means you have to be ready to keep learning. The organization has to be ready to keep teaching you. The good news is the same technology that is making all this happen is going to help us learn faster. AI and machine learning these days, we have a big program that we've spread across the company called Genome. So it's crowdsourcing of learning, offered on a technology platform in really small sound bites. So think about it as your YouTube sound bites. I mean, what you're doing is education.
Yes.
I mean, everyone listening is getting educated on a bunch of topics that you tee up. So think about doing that within the organization, 90,000 people. 1,000 people are classified as experts, and they're available for 10-minute sound bites of, hey, explain to me this. And then there are videos that are captured, and that's available for everyone. We now have, 50,000 such video small clips on 1,000 different topics.
Yeah.
And that's proliferating through. That's how you learn these days.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to be in the future.
That's really about the machine learning, right? And just so we can break down a little bit nuts and bolts before, because I know right now our audience is listening and tuned in because the way we've been handling it has been really cool, right? And very linear, because I believe that our politicians, and I didn't bring you here to talk about politics, so let me do it and you stay silent just for a second, Tiger, and make sure the board doesn't get upset. I believe politicians, they must look directly at camera. I think politicians are doing a disservice to our American workforce and public by saying that jobs are coming back, right? And manufacturing come back stronger than ever before, when it's actually not the case, because future work is happening, right? So I just wanted to say that. But what we're talking about right now is really showing the reasons of how that is becoming, because the way companies are employing this technology in order to be more efficient, for more scalability, for quicker, bringing in companies like Genpact and other of the big five firms too as well, to help make them understand this linear progression better. So just for our listening audience, to talk about AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, which can be heady, right, for the most part, I'm gonna do my best to break down machine learning, and then you correct me, and then add on your own flavor, your tiger spin, you know, if you will. I think the best way I look at machine learning is essentially, let's think about it as like a human being being just nonstop in the library, constantly reading books, right? Constantly reading, constantly learning, and then communicating that to the end user, right? Which is that algorithm on what the best decision is to make based upon the thousands and millions and trillions of books that they read in the library in 0.0005 seconds. Is that a good way to look at machine learning? That's on the cuff.
It's exactly the right way to look at it. And the other way to describe exactly what you just described is that's the way kids learn language. Kids learn language by, instead of reading, they listen, and at some point in time they start reading. No one explains to them the specific meaning of every word.
Yes.
They're listening to their mom and dad and their friends, and they're saying, oh, every time my mom sees that animal, she utters the word cat.
Yes.
So that must be true. That must be cat.
Yes. That's brilliant.
Finger pointed at that animal and the word cat comes out.
Tiger, I get why you're the CEO, buddy. I get it. I get your back. Okay, you're dope, right? Normally I would say dope as fuck. I think I can say that with you. Sorry if I offended you, but I would normally say dope AF. That's brilliant because I've been talking a lot about languages lately. To go over a linear track audience, if you remember, I had a conversation with Reginald Hutland, who's a famous filmmaker who did Boomerang and House Party, and he did the movie Thurgood Marshall a couple years ago and has this new special on Netflix called The Black Godfather. And I talked to him about the language, right? How language is as a science and language is a connectivity. And then when you talk about math, the best way to learn math is you look at it as a language, right? Correct. And so if you look at language as a child and a youth, that's really what the AI, I'd never heard described like that. And I think that's utterly brilliant. So let's use some examples though, like some real world practical.
So let's talk about EVR example.
Oh, one more time?
Yeah, the EVR example.
Oh, yeah.
The Formula E racing example.
Yes, yeah, it's about to go there. With the comment that you literally made that's on you. So I'm teeing up for you.
Yeah.
You teed up for me, and I'm going to tee it back up for you with a little bit of a layup. And we talked about how using AI is to help to make the car go quicker, better, faster, with better output for the battery usage. Kind of just put that into context. You have these very sexy, muscular cars that are going extremely fast and very sleek designs, but yet they're using technology. Talk to us a little bit about that, just to kind of paint a picture for our audience.
So the interesting thing about Formula E, and I think you teed it up really well, is that it's not just a race that is defined as which car is the fastest that finishes a race the first. Mm-hmm. It's actually interesting because instead of a Formula One race where you have a racetrack that is defined as X number of miles and which car finishes it fastest, you have a racetrack where you say, I'm going to allow you to run around for 45 minutes and you have a battery. You can't exhaust the battery. If you exhaust the battery before the 45 minutes are done, you're done.
Yeah.
However, if at the end of 45 minutes, you've actually got 10% of the battery still left, then I wish I had used the battery up.
Yeah.
Because I could have gone a little faster.
Yeah.
The faster you go, the more battery gets consumed. But you can't consume it too much because you'll finish the battery before 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So the whole objective there is to last the full 45 minutes and yet have the battery not get exhausted, but don't have too much power still left in the battery because you've not used it optimally.
Yes.
So it's optimization. So therefore, the race winner is interestingly not just the person who has the best car, because actually the cars, by the way, are all equal to each other.
Yeah.
They're deliberately made to be equal. Mm-hmm. So the cars actually are not different. It's the batteries, by the way, are also made equal. Mm-hmm. They're not that different. The drivers are different.
Yes.
And everything else that allows the AI, the machine learning, the software is different. So in the end, 50% of the winning is the driver and the skill of the driver, and 50% is what are the instructions that the driver is getting and reacting to those instructions. That's very different from Formula One.
Yeah, that's... I was going to geek out, right? I'm trying not to geek out too much, audience, right? But that's brilliant. I mean, that's really when you think about it. And I would even go further and even add more context to it. It's almost as if you're combining chess with the game of Fortnite, right? So just think about if you had like technology and AI in order to help you make you a better chess player with a strategy. And then if you think about if you had AI to help you a better Fortnite player and the gaming system, the gamification of it, how much you could be more efficient when it comes to that, right? And so that's literally what we're talking about here, like right now. Why was it important for you, Tiger, to get involved with Formula E and Genpack to get involved with Formula E?
So many reasons, Mike. I'll start with the race and what it stands for itself. What does Formula E stands for? Formula E stands for mobility and the future of that mobility. I mean, humans have so much invested in the importance of mobility, whether it's cars, it's trains, it's planes, it's the way we travel and communicate, the way goods gets transported. It's never going to go away.
Yeah.
And the more you get efficient in that, the future of mobility was one reason. The second is, in that future of mobility, we got to find an answer that is much more climate friendly.
Yes.
Right now, every one of our answers over our history has been not very carbon and climate friendly. Batteries is the answer. Electric vehicles is the answer. So the combination of the future of mobility with the future of the electric way of mobility and the future of battery itself was very exciting. And then put that in the context of a sport. The sport is followed by a demographic profile that is younger, more millennial, and more diverse as compared to Formula One.
Yeah.
No surprise. It's climate, it's battery, it's electric, it's so on. And because it's so much less noise than Formula One, it's run in the center of cities.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So therefore, families come and watch the race. And so all of that got together. And then, of course, 50% of the winning is because of cognitive and AI and machine learning skills, which is kind of what we bring to the table. So we thought the congruence of all of this. And the final point I'd make is, while the objective is to win the race and to be part of that, the real longer term objective is the breakthroughs in battery that is going to happen.
Yes.
Because of all the testing that's happening every year.
Yep.
The breakthroughs in how light can the vehicle become. That therefore consumes less power, that therefore damages the environment much less.
Yeah.
How can the technology become much better, where the technology helps the driver take all kinds of information? And some of that we will use in other areas. So we use this same methodology to actually make power plants run better.
Yeah.
To make aircraft engines run better.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So that's the reason we partnered up. It's only the first year that we've been with them, and we are excited about the partnership.
And I hope, and speaking of aircraft, I hope you can make aircrafts more quiet and more silent, because when I don't get that unfortunate opportunity to get upgraded, I sit next to a wing and that thing is loud, all right, or in the back, and it's awful. So work on that next, Tiger, if you don't mind, please.
I'll take it to my AI team.
Yeah. But something you said really interesting. I'm gonna bring in my boy Lee Pham into a position about bringing families. He's a huge fan of Formula One racing and Formula E now too as well. And so we were actually at the races together, and he actually brought his 4-month-old child to the race. It was quiet enough.
You can't do that in Formula One.
You cannot do that in Formula One. And the mother was like, I can't believe you're going to risk and take our child there. And he was like, you have to trust me, right? And sure enough, it was absolutely quiet. Before I let you go, you said something really interesting at the summit. I just want to just kind of hone in on that really quickly here. I believe that corporations feel, when it comes to corporate social responsibility, that it's a risk that they're taking, right? When they choose to get involved with an issue, right? Or a policy positioning, right? Or something that can be helpful to our society, our culture, the globe. They're apprehensive of doing it because they may feel like they may take a hit within earnings, right? What is your belief system when it comes to CSR, corporate social responsibilities, and the comparativeness of earnings?
So, Mike, I'll start actually at a level above CSR and say that I think companies need to have a purpose in the way they define their business. So, obviously, the purpose of business is to add value to clients, is to add value to shareholders, is to create profits, value, and so on. And you obviously have to keep an engaged workforce, an excited workforce to be able to do that. Those were constituents that was always part of the equation, with the shareholder being a big part of the equation to make profits, etc. The world is changing but I also need a North Star. I need a North Star that I can align the company to, saying we're actually doing good. And therefore, we're going to be here for the long, long haul.
Yeah.
Why is that important? Because I think every company that we work with is thinking about it. So in the long haul, if we don't have a sharply defined North Star purpose, at some point in time, our clients are going to say, I don't want to work with you. So that's a problem. It's a problem for the shareholder, because our business is going to suffer. Second, our business is about our employees. Our business is our intellectual capital that is all housed in the 90,000 people. If I don't excite them with what is it that I come to work for, apart from obviously earning a great pay, doing great business with my clients, and delivering value to shareholders, I also come here because I'm adding value to the next generation and the future generation. I think the importance of that has always been there. It's just gone up manyfold, because communication and technology has made people aware much more than before. Young kids in class today, in school, learn about climate change. and they're worried about their future. So when we hire millennials, they actually want to know, what's your purpose? Are you pro climate change and helping prevent all the stuff that's happening in the climate or not? Are you pro that? Are you going to do something about it? There are many, many companies, great examples. Unilever is one example, which is very well publicly known. Their foray into creating more sustainability in their products has actually helped them. I mean, they've grown that product range 50-60% a year as compared to their other products. As a result, the company's grown. So there's a deep belief that if you don't have a purpose, if you can't align your company's goals, shareholder goals, and societal goals together and articulate that to your employees, your customers, and your shareholders, you're not going to last the long haul. And we've seen that play out. Therefore, corporate social responsibility is a way to do it, but I actually think it should not be separate in CSR. You should actually be embracing CSR as part of your company itself.
Hey, that's amazing. I can think of a better way to end the conversation with that on the North Star. Tiger, thank you so much for coming to the
Thank you, Mike.
Show.
This has been one of the best conversations I've ever had.
I love that. You've got to come back, man. How can people reach Genpact if they want to learn more? You have a Twitter, clearly a website.
So www.genpact.com, Twitter handle #Genpact.
Yeah, we got you.
We should be able to.
I'll put that right in the bottom of the screen so that people can find it more closely. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been our show. Can't wait for you to tune in next week. Peace.
To bring the